And our next presenter is Mr. R.R. Das Gupta. He'll be presenting to us on HoloLens IoT, visual measurement of parts and identification of defects, and the concept of blockchain. Mr. R.R. Das Gupta is the Chief Digital Advisor, Automotive, Mobility and Manufacturing, Microsoft Corporation, India Private Limited. Mr. Das Gupta.
I didn't know I was speaking on so many subjects. I thought the brief was that I will touch upon mixed reality, and then you guys included IoT and cognitive and everything else under the sun. Seriously, in 20 minutes, not possible. All right, so I'll stick to my original brief. I'll talk about, and actually the subject should have been more about computer vision rather than about HoloLens. However sexy HoloLens is, right, it is for able-bodied people like you and me who can see. There's a larger world out there where people can't see, where people can't touch, where people can't speak. Technology is about enabling those people. So I'll touch upon some of those areas. So I'm going to stick to the brief of how do you transform your world with HoloLens. Using mixed reality. It's not really about HoloLens. It's the whole area of mixed reality, which is very, very different from augmented reality and virtual reality, because these have completely different applications. But I want to touch upon this picture, right? Where Microsoft is going with computer vision is about giving humans a new pair of eyes, all right? Seeing the world, which was never, ever possible. People who do not have vision, them being able to see the world just as if they did, right? So this picture actually represents from one of our big projects, one of my colleagues in Redmond, a person called Saqib Nazir, completely impaired in his vision. He's one of our researchers and developers in our Redmond studio. So he came up with this project called Seeing AI. Seeing AI. So when you don't have vision and you walk into a room or you're walking in the crowd and instead of the stick, can there be another pair of eyes looking out for you? Using simple wearable cameras on your glasses. And it kind of calls out that, hey, there's a woman looking at you. She has a camera in her hand. There's a cat in her hand. The other guy is holding a camera. He's trying to take a photograph with a jacket purple. And there's a huge crowd out there. So instead of those walking sticks and walking dogs, can we imagine a world where it's really about seeing the world with a different pair of eyes? So our worldview, very quickly, is all about really 4 areas where we are investing billions of dollars. And why we are investing is because we see the future out there. So these include computer vision. And computer vision is not limited to virtual reality or augmented reality or HoloLens or mixed reality. It's way beyond that. It's about how a computer can recognize who a person is, the emotions that person is going through, mood, good, bad, ugly, and whether by hearing speech, the computer can actually determine the intent of that speech. Is it an angry speech? Is it a nice speech? Whatever. Okay, so our worldview is about machine learning, computer vision, artificial intelligence, and of course, quantum computing, because we believe that's the future. And of course, Satya says that mixed reality is one of the cool things in these times. So I'll quickly touch upon some of the thoughts around the whole mixed reality and why you should actually explore it. And a couple of these things are around how you actually remain leader, and many of your automotive component manufacturers, big, small, et cetera. And slowly, these technologies are also becoming pretty affordable. And then providing a very hyper-personalized customer experience. And I'll show you a video about how do you show off a car, in a little while, and the way you can experience a car, you cannot experience at a dealership, not even at any other show. How do you create new revenue streams and accelerate your time to market? And obviously, if you see all of the things around us, technology is omnipresent, right? Whether it's text, kind of IM conversations, whether it's deep learning and neural networks, whether it's mixed reality or augmented reality, machines, I think my colleague from Japan touched about it, and Yoshida-san talked about the smart factory. All of this put together, and then the last one is about emotions, right? How do you recognize emotions and take predictive or proactive actions around that? And I think the difference is that physical is not going to go away, right? So physical reality is about a physical product, its presence, and how do you actually, kind of augment the senses when you actually touch the product. You're obviously not going to buy a car because you saw it in HoloLens. You're obviously seeing it in HoloLens, then going and checking it out, and probably go in between the two before you really make up your mind how to buy that car. Artificially, and virtual reality is about artificially created sensory experience of people, environments, and objects. And just slightly on another area of an application of where computer vision is going. Post 9/11, in US, Microsoft worked closely with the US government, and specifically for NYPD, we came up with an aware solution. So one of the highlights of the solution is that I found video facing a crowd. So one way is that you have this kiosk moving billboards. So on the opposite side of the TV kiosk, there is a bus curb. People are standing there. So if there are people like me standing, many of me like me, then they'll start playing superannuation funds and all of those kind of stuff. If there are younger people like some I see out here, they will play Levi's jeans and stuff like that, right? But there is another purpose to that. This solution can pick up from hundreds and thousands of known perpetrators of terror in a crowd, right? And it can easily pick that face up, match it, and have the entire machinery going towards that. So that's the augmentation we are talking about, including sight, touch, hearing, and smell. So if you look at the two worlds of physical reality and virtual reality, then comes mixed reality. It's really blending the physical world with the digital world. How many of you have experienced any augmented reality or virtual reality device? Anybody can share a little experience? So which device is available? No, which one? Oculus? Oculus? All right. So what happens in Oculus? You put that on, the world goes dark, right? You're kind of wary about where you're stepping. It's tethered, right? In HoloLens, it's a speck like this, about this size. You can still see reality, but you can focus on the digital, right? So that is mixing the digital and the physical world. So as we talk through this technology, we are really going to talk about holograms that enhance the real world. So we are now experimenting with something called holoportation, which means next time ACMA conference happens, I will holoport myself on stage, right? I will not be there physically, but I'll be there digitally. Just like in flesh and blood, you see me right now, you won't be able to make out whether I'm the real one or the holoported one, right? We can holoport people to locations. So Star Trek, yeah, kind of becoming real, right? All the movies that we saw in our younger days, Star Trek, Star Wars, all of it somewhere, including that phone Captain whatever had, that mobile phone that became the mobile phone, and all the things that, Star Trek and Star Wars, probably they were better and far more advanced visionaries, those movie makers, than we all technologists put together, right? So they kind of predicted the future. So new ways to connect, create, and explore, and I'll start with an example of the automotive world where we are seeing it. A more natural way to interact, and obviously an advanced piece of technology. So I hope this video works.
Volvo is really a human-centric company. That's the core focus of everything we've done in terms of the products we develop, but also the way we interact with their customers. All people know that we stand for safety, but Volvo is so much more. HoloLens helps us to push the envelope of innovation for our customers. The HoloLens is a device that you put on your head, and it doesn't intrude in any of the things you do, but it also extends the realities around you.
You can do something you could never do before. You can see the soul of the car. You can strip the body out and stay with the skeleton. You can play around with it.
The HoloLens can allow our customers to see features, colors, options. So rather than working on the computer, seeing things, you can be part of the experience.
No one understands how car sensors actually works today. Through the HoloLens, you can see how the car perceives you. And then you give me as a human being the vantage point of a sensor. It helps to build a much better trust in this type of systems.
For example, you see a car coming in front of you. The car has features that could aid in that situation. We have a lot of features that we don't necessarily want you to experience it all, but it's part of our proposition. You're buying into the safest car brand in the world.
One of the great things that was said to us by Volvo when we started this was that Volvo loves technology, but only if it makes people's lives simpler. Microsoft HoloLens lets people take imagination and make it real, much more efficiently and in a much more collaborative manner.
HoloLens will not only help us in the car buying process at a dealership, it can evolve into many areas. We think there are many alternative applications of this tool in the future, and Volvo clearly has an aspiration to break out of the pack.
It's cool. It's way cool.
Yeah, so that was about HoloLens. A couple of things. It's just not about displaying a vehicle and really making it very attractive, immersive. There are many more applications actually of HoloLens inside the automotive world. So with Ford, what we are building is you will still have the clay models, right? Now what happens in an expensive car design project is every time a small design change happens, you will go back and correct that clay model. So we'll take a base clay model, overlay a holographic layer, which designers across the world will collaboratively see and do etchings on their service tab to say, this needs to change a little, right? So the holographic layer on top of the base clay model actually forms the basis for a design validation, right? The other thing is about how do you check out some of the scary things which can happen in automotive, right? So how do you actually create an environment of an ADAS, whether an ADAS, advanced driver assistance system, really is working? What if a vehicle really comes too close to another vehicle and is about to hit that other vehicle? So you saw parts of that in Volvo, right? So now we are not creating any crash sequence out there, physical crash sequence. We are creating digital twin from real-time data of the car and creating a digital twin of the car and testing it out in a holographic environment to say, if this happens in this trajectory, then how do you actually, when do the airbags blow up? When do other things keep happening and make that? All right? So quite a few applications in the automotive world, I'm sure, in component manufacturing also will be a lot more useful as well. So slightly related, not related industry, all of us have built homes, right? All of us have built homes? Yes, of course. So what happens when you build a home? You buy a flat, you go in for shopping and you say, you know, I like this piece of kitchen, but how will it look in my apartment? And then you call this guy, the consultant comes in, he's going to see this, he says, this will look very good, but you're not getting it, right? You're not getting the sense of how it will actually land. At Lowe's in US, we actually have created a holographic layer on top of a person's home where by changing objects, you can see how the whole place looks up. Okay, now this is going to Mars. The Mars rover project, right, we are building with NASA, is about testing out and training astronauts on how the rover will be driven in Mars by actually digitally simulating the Mars environment, right? So it takes years before astronaut gets trained and actually goes up to Moon and Mars and stuff like that. So that training is being enabled right out here. Many other areas, you saw Volvo, collaborative training, that's how we do it in NASA. Then there are things like maintenance and support, whether it's Rolls-Royce aircraft engines or ThyssenKrupp elevators, right? We can do remote monitoring and maintenance, send a relatively untrained mechanic, but enable him through mixed reality and through computer vision to do the job correctly. So just that you should know the three worlds, augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality. Microsoft HoloLens is placed right in between, which is really mixed reality, and we actually transcend all kinds of realities. So while augmented reality augments the real world, for example, I could have a NFC-based blow-up out here, or blends holograms with the real world. I could holoport myself. I can transport you to a virtual world and replaces the real world. We are not about to replace the real world. We will augment the real world. All right? Just like AI is not there to replace humanity, AI is there to augment humanity, right? So a couple of things you should keep in mind. Anybody who has done Unity development out here? Unity platform development, 3D CAD. Okay. The warning here is, just because you know Unity, you do not know HoloLens. Wrong assumption. HoloLens has its major nuances, and it takes specialist expertise to do that. So there are a whole lot of, I'll let you read through this. I'd rather take questions from you. Thank you.